So, talking about funding, a couple slides here. The first slide you're looking at is the anticipated funding, and that's everything that the city currently has in hand or has commitments on from the various partners that they've reached out to try and get funding. The first one, FEMA, there's a question mark I mentioned, and right now the commitment from FEMA is $17.5 million, I believe, and we're projecting that with a reasonable cost adjustment, we may go to 19.9. That number is a projection. We haven't gotten to that calculation yet. I was on the phone with FEMA today asking for, now that we've cleared the EA hurdle, when can we do this? So they're looking into that. Hopefully we'll get a response back relatively soon as to when we start that process. The North Carolina legislature, as the mayor mentioned, has been very generous in bringing forward $14 million for recovery to the city. Brunswick County has also entered in as a partner with a $3 million commitment. And then the GO bond, which we're all here to talk about tonight, right now is estimated at $20 million. So that brings us to a total of $51.9 million plus a $5 million contingency. And primarily the contingency is there because we do have a lot of unknowns in the construction industry, and we don't want to get to the 11th hour and not have enough money to get this thing done. So we're trying to be prudent in what we're estimating, not overestimating, but still being reasonable with the estimates that we believe are going to be necessary to get the project completed. The $51.9 million is a change from some of the past estimates that you may have seen a year or more ago. We went in June and July of this year and reevaluated the cost estimates for the construction for all 4 dams based on the changes that we've seen in construction industry. And that's where the change came from what was originally $42 million to now $51.9. That's the best available information that we believe we have at this time. We looked at a number of different sources of information to try and derive what that change would likely be. That included bids that we had on recent projects. It included a very detailed evaluation of the history of bids from NCDOT statewide over the last 15 to 20 years, and looking at changes year over year, and looking at those changes as they've occurred in the last year, and recognizing that that data, we obviously don't have that statewide data as current as we do our recent local bids. So it's a blending of trends that we were seeing in the statewide data with the information that we had directly from local bids on individual elements like steel and concrete, other things that we're really needing to build these dams. So then the next slide is the same picture, the same funding, all the way down to the highlighted item, which is the potential DCIP grant. And what we're looking for there is recognizing that the federal grant is not confirmed as of right now. The city has gone to extreme lengths to try and meet all the requirements in very short time frames to try and even get into a position where they could be considered for that grant. And at this point, we're at the 11th hour of waiting for them basically to come back and say yay or nay, either you have it or you don't. Moving forward with the expectation on the previous slide that the grant doesn't come through, that's why the bond is set right now at $20 million. If the bond comes through, if the grant comes through, then the ability to adjust the bond is there, and the ability to reduce that bond value down is something that the board has the ability to do as we move forward. In either case, you'll notice that we're still identifying the bond as a need in this overall program to meet what we believe the projected needs of the projects are going to be. So one gives us $20 million, one gives us less than $20 million, and we'll see where we end up with the DCIP grant. Hopefully we'll know more about that in the next month or so. Schedule. As you can see there, I've listed off some of the critical dates for USDA coordination. We're in the midst of that now, and we'll continue through that at least through the date of the referendum vote, and it will actually continue beyond that, but we have to meet most of their paperwork requirements before that date. The DCIP grant right now, looking at a window of hearing from somewhere in October to December. Everything that we know right now, we're hoping we're going to hear earlier than later. That's been the indication that we've been receiving back from DOD up to this point. The go bond referendum, obviously on 11/8. The bidding process, we're hoping that we'll be able to move straight into the bidding process right after the referendum. That process is going to end up taking 2.5 months to go through all of the receipt of bids, review of bids, taking it back to the board for contract award. So hopefully, apologize for the shift there in the dates. That one we're looking at earliest contract award likely in February of this coming year, and then the construction of the dams starting at that time and moving through what we're anticipating right now is going to be a 3-year timeline for construction of the dams. We've gone through the reasons why that timeline is as long as it is in previous meetings. Happy to go back over that if need be tonight. But to suffice to say that there's a number of things that we need to do beyond just filling the hole that's obviously apparent when you go out to look at the dam. In the case of Sanford Dam, we literally have to rip out and reconstruct 2/3 of the dam in order to meet all of the current criteria for the dam safety permit that we've received.